So I want to talk a little bit about when I started practicing. I hope it's not too noisy. I'm driving right now. Just thought it might be a nice way to connect with you all, as if we're sitting in the car together. And you know what? Some of the most profound teachings I've received from my teachers, they haven't happened on a yoga mat or in a studio. They've happened driving in a car. And it just goes to show that what makes a teacher, it really isn't about what happens on the yoga mat that much. I mean, it's great to learn how to do some postures, etc. But as my teacher Dharma would say, true spiritual knowledge is transmitted psychically. And that sounds pretty out there. But if you think about it, it's just like being in the presence of someone who inspires you. And I've always sought that out in my journey. Now, it's been really difficult for me on my journey to be steady as a teacher, and I'm getting better at that as I go along and make mistakes. But I just want to share with you what drew me into this practice, and my intention in doing so is that it'll do one of two things, maybe both. The first thing is that it's going to inspire a steadiness in you, and maybe for the first time. And then the second thing is that it's going to reignite a passion for this practice and reconnect you with your why you do this practice in a deeper way. That's essentially my intention in recording this voice note. So when I started practice, I was a drug addict, alcoholic, touring DJ. I was in a failing marriage. I was young. My life was really falling apart. And a friend of mine who could see the potential in me, I guess you could say, dragged me to, it was like an info session for a yoga teacher training. I mean, she didn't tell me that at the time, but essentially what was going to happen is there was going to be a lead class, and then after the lead class, people could ask questions about the training. Now, we showed up late, and of course, it was probably because of me, and there was only space right at the front of the room, and the room was packed. And so, I thought, whatever. I'm pretty egotistical, even though I was in rough shape because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was an athlete when I was younger, so I thought, yoga, it's stretching. Like so many people think when they start. How hard can it be, whatever. And let me tell you, it was really hard and embarrassing for me. I was in the front of the room. I couldn't hardly do anything. I was sweating. Probably sweating booze and who knows what else out of my system. And I struggled through. And I remember laying there at the end of the practice and just being inside, hearing a voice say, "This is better than any drug you've ever done." And I knew from the sound of that voice, I call that my inner knower, or my inner guide. I also call it Jesus. But that inner guide was you're going to do this for the rest of your life, essentially. This is going to get you free from the bondage you're in now, and it's going to help you free others. I just knew it. And so I spent more than half of my life now trying to figure out how to do that. And sometimes it was really obvious, and the doors opened and I just walked through them. And other times I felt lost and confused, and I stumbled and I fell and I relapsed, and I did all of those things. Now, the teachers that I've had in the process have all been people who really inspired me. And again, what they could do on the mat was never central to that. some of them were animal rights activists and outsiders and artists and devotional practitioners and intellectuals and wisdom keepers, people defying what's expected of you because of your age, people who never felt like they needed to take drugs or drink alcohol and never did, not even once, not even a drop of wine. Others who like were in prison, and others who died and were brought back to life. I mean, these are some of the incredible stories, and these are the teachers that inspire me. And I look out in the world of yoga today, and I wonder, like, are people 18, 19, 20, like when I started, are they seeing teachers in their 40s, 50s, 60s? Like, are they a part of their experience of yoga, or is it just like who can do the fanciest pose on Instagram? Is that what they're seeing as yoga? And if that's the case, first of all, that makes me feel really sad. And I notice, like, people almost, like, here's an example. When I would find a teacher who was like really like living the yoga, I would do anything I could to be with them. I would move, I would travel, I would give it all up just to like sit in their presence. And you know I do things like full on, and not everybody maybe has the privilege to be able to do that. I mean, it wasn't a privilege thing. I didn't have any money. I slept on shallow floors in my life, and I did whatever I could. So it's not like I was like traveling and staying in fancy places or anything like that. But I didn't have the convenience to turn on Zoom and sit with one of these incredible beings that changed my life. Like, I had to work for that shit. And now I think like it's so accessible, which is cool, but what's accessible? And that's what I want to know. And it's easy to be like an old curmudgeon-y, like, I've been around for a long time and it's not like it used to be, and blah blah blah. That's not my intent. It's more a calling for those of us who have been around to not fall into the evangelical flag waving, I do this practice, or the eating disordered practice that comes along with this, or fundamentalism. Like, just watch out for that. Like, the Ashtangis that inspired me in my early days were farmers and misfits and outsiders. They weren't like evangelical practice 6 days a week, and what the voice that comes from Mysore is the all-being and God and Guru. Like, I never had that experience. In fact, like, one of the Mysore rooms that I was practicing in, like, they're like, just come in and do whatever you're learning and we'll see if we can help you. Like, that was the mentality. There was no like, I don't want to go to the shala because I'm afraid that they're going to push my arms into Kapotasana and waking up in cold sweats because because my spiritual practice is terrifying, and if I don't do it this way, then I'm going to get barked at. And like, what? How the hell did we get to that? Like, I don't know. Maybe you had a different experience than me. But this is a reminder, right? It's like, how are you walking in this world? And like, if this practice means something to you, if your teachers mean something to you, like, be in their presence. That's what you do. And if you have the convenience of zooming in with them, or if you have the convenience of like, only seeing them once a year or whatever it is, it's like, where are your priorities with this, folks? Is it exercise? Is it following rules and dogma? What is this about? And for me, it was like, it gave me the stability to get sober. It gave me a physical practice that helped me to connect with God in a deeper way, which was so meaningful to me, instead of just like sitting in a church, sipping coffee on a hard chair. And I love the music, but I started having these experiences, like doing this practice where it was like bringing me deeper into union with God. Isn't that yoga? And then the people that like I saw embodying that, like I did everything I could to be around them. And it's not about the form. It's not about like, did you do the pose in the correct order? It's not about that. Like, it's this is a calling, man. If you had a similar experience to me in any way, like, let's step up. Let's be that next generation of spiritual rebels, and not just a bunch of fundamentalist rule followers. For what? It's not helping anybody. Anyhow, that's my 2 cents. I love you all. I'll see you on the mat.